Good morning. I want to come to you today in sort of a different way. I've heard it said that with great change comes great suffering, but I don't want to buy that. I don't want to make that part of who I am. I don't want to make that part of who this community is. In New Thought, in the Science of Mind, we teach consciousness first. Consciousness is everything. And I know that those of you in this room have heard me talk about this over and over and over again. Perhaps there's somebody new watching online and at some time or in some dimension, some far off date from now, or maybe later today, that hasn't heard that before. And yet, I want to come back to that. Consciousness is everything. So if we buy into the idea that with great change comes great suffering, well, then who would ever want to change? Who would ever want to say, yeah, I'm up for that. Oh, change is on the horizon. Yay. Been playing with this word this week. I actually am thinking I want to get rid of the word change completely. Completely. Just no. Because change in many ways implies turning away from something and turning towards something completely different. If you haven't noticed, here around CSL Boulder Valley, change is upon us. But it always is, right? It has been for years. And the change we're about to go through currently is, in some ways, letting go of some things, but I think that in many ways, it is a demonstration of the natural evolution of our own consciousness around what it means to be in spiritual community. You with me on that? The change we are experiencing is a demonstration of our consciousness of what it is we want in spiritual community. And throughout this year, we've been exploring this, and it becomes incredibly and increasingly obvious that what we want is to hang out together. And that's cool. And that's good. And what we want is to continue our exploration of what it means to be a spiritual being living in a human body, in a human experience, in a human paradigm. My time with this community, we're not here to just sit around and spend 14 hours a day in meditation, as much fun as that would be. And we're here to make a difference. We're here to do the work of the divine. And so change isn't so much letting go of something and putting on something new. It's not breaking things down into smaller pieces and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. What we're truly on, I believe, is a journey of evolution. In a very Ram Dass wrote a very famous book. It was one of my very first teachers as a book in this philosophy. And the name of the book is Journey of Awakening. And it's a wonderful small little book, and it's been used in religious science and science of mind classes for decades as a primer for meditation and how to enter into this process, this livingness of the divine. And I always loved that in that, what Ram Dass said was, he was very specific in naming the book and titling the book. It's not the journey to awakening, because that implies a destination, and that also implies that we're not already awoken. We're not already awake. There's no question in my mind that you're already awake. You wouldn't be in the room if you weren't. Along the years, I sort of started to co-opt and adopt and adapt that phrase, that concept, the journey of awakening, to a recognition that as humans, we are on a journey of enlightenment. So anybody that professes to teach you how to become enlightened or what you got to do to be more enlightened or any of that, get rid of that. That to me just sounds like toxic gaslighting of some sort. You're not good enough. So let me reinforce that by telling you what you got to do differently than what you're already doing to be good enough to be enlightened. Bleh. But we are on a journey of exploring how we're going to express that enlightenment. For some on this planet, that is 14 hours a day on a meditation cushion. For some, it's an hour a day. For some, it's 15 minutes a day. For some, they don't even believe in meditation. But it doesn't mean they're not enlightened. It doesn't mean that they're not a divine spiritual being having a human experience. We've heard it said before. I've heard it said countless times across this movement that we're human beings having a spiritual experience. No. Let's be really clear on that. No, we are not. We are beings of light. We are spiritual beings. And I've seen it a lot recently. There's a new kind of personality test out there on the internet. If you see it, don't do it. It's all junk. I can tell you, just looking at it, it's not worth your time. They're just trying to scam your data or get you to pay $39 for some report that's going to fill you full of all kinds of junk. I could just see it. And this personality profile helps you to identify what sort of extraterrestrial being you really are, what kind of light being you might be. Like there's different types of light being. But folks, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Hard stop, period, end of story. And then what that means is that at any point in time, we have the ability to reveal that light in a more powerful way, in a transformative way, perhaps in a compassionate way, perhaps in a loving way, perhaps in a way that holds somebody when they're having a tough day, and perhaps it's calling someone to their greatness when they're trying to buy into their human limitations. Because it is obvious the human body is limited. I have yet to learn how to bilocate or levitate, although I'm working on both of those things because they feel like it'd be a lot of fun. The first principle, the first of all of it, the first place to start in all of this is that we are one. One power, one presence, one infinite intelligence. We are all one. And for me, when I come from that place of oneness, then I also, and this is what I really want to talk with you about today, not talk to you about, but talk with you about, is that love is the language of source. Love is the language of source. And that source is what is the inherent truth of who you are on this planet. Remember, you're not a human being. You're a divine spiritual being. You are a being of light. You are an expression of the oneness that we call God and others call by other names. And we are this oneness getting to play in a human body, getting to play in this human paradigm for as long as we may choose. The call, I believe, for everyone is that we grow through the human through the denseness of the human experience, and we grow, and part of the human journey, if you will, the human lifetime, the game that we play as a lifetime. I don't like to think of life as a lesson. I don't like to think of us as we're here to learn something, or we're here to be taught something, or but we chose, just we said, yeah, that looks like a fun game. I'm gonna go play that. I like this idea, Earth. What's that? I want to go play there. And someone, a soul, a part of the oneness, some aspect says, well, if you want to go play there, there's a couple of rules you got to play by when you go to the sandbox called Earth. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make you forget that you're a being of light. And we're going to push you through this incredibly miraculous and impossible task of birth. And in that, you are going to forget everything. And there are those there that have been playing the game longer, that have agreed to take you under their wing and are going to help teach you the rules and the ropes and to help show you around. But ultimately, they can't win the game for you. They can't play the game for you. And some of those people, uh, well, not only did they forget who they were coming through, but they forgot where they were going. They forgot how to play the game. Some come through and think that they can change the rules to fit so that they win the game. There's no winning involved, folks. We're not here to beat anybody. We're not here to win something, because there's no way you could lose at this game. And as we progress and as we continue along the journey, it's like the old game Chutes and Ladders. Sometimes you find what seems to be a shortcut that moves you ahead of others in the game, and sometimes there are things that push you back towards the beginning, and sometimes there are things that we don't. Well, I thought I counted to six, but I guess I only got five. I don't know. As we journey along, I believe the progress comes as we day by day awaken to our enlightenment, awaken to the truth of who we are. And as we do that, well, change happens. Some people say, I don't like this game. I don't want to play. I'm just going to sit here and not move ever and not do anything. Some, and I believe this is one of the keys, many say, you know what? I'm not happy just sitting around watching life go by. I want to be part of a learning community. And I believe that's where New Thought began. Its very nature was, New Thought was not, from my perspective, New Thought was not a replacement for Christianity. It was a group of thinkers and learners and those in learning communities that continued to ask questions that led them to a greater understanding of the terrain on this journey that we are taking, on perhaps the goal of where this journey is taking us. And folks, that was almost 100 years ago now. I think we've moved. I think we've progressed. I don't even think we have. I know we have. We have progressed beyond what was necessary in the 1800s to come to understand these principles. We have progressed beyond what was necessary in the 1920s to learn these principles. We have progressed beyond what was necessary to learn these principles in the 50s and even in the 80s, and even when I came in the door 20 plus years ago, just over 20 years ago. I'll be celebrating my 23rd anniversary of hearing the term science of mind later in well, heck, it might have been this Sunday. Might have been the third Sunday in August. I got to go back and look now. And throughout that time, what has transposed on planet Earth, what has changed in the human realm, well, we didn't have smartphones. We, we barely had dumb phones at that time. We didn't have what was, um, we didn't have YouTube. Do you remember life before YouTube? We might have had MySpace at that time, but maybe not even. We sure as heck didn't even utter the concept of AI, not in casual everyday conversation at least. There might have been a few scientists and a few visionaries that were looking forward to it. There's, okay, probably some science fiction folk. I I played a game this week on with someone, or someone was doing one of those question and answer things, and the question was, name a movie that you remember seeing in the theaters that will date you. And the one that jumped into my head first was Star Wars. I saw the original Star Wars in a theater. You know why? Because there was no other way. We didn't have, you couldn't go get it. You couldn't just wait around for it to come out on VHS or DVD or stream it or pirate it. Back then, pirating a movie meant somebody had to still buy a ticket and go in with a big clunky camera and try and hide it in their jacket to try, and couldn't watch the pirated version of it anyway, so why bother? We did have VHS, but I think at that point, but point being, you get me, right? We didn't have it. What we have now, I believe, is the greatest access ever known to humanity to universal truth. You have heard me say this before. There are more people awakened on this planet at this time than ever before. We have instant 24-hour a day, 7-day a week access to divine intelligence, first and foremost through our own practice and our own consciousness, but secondly, right there in our hand. Need an inspirational piece of music? Right in your hand. Need a talk? Right in your hand. Want to hear what Robert's thinking? Right in your hand. Want to see what I'm writing? Right in your hand. You don't have to wait for a weekly newsletter. You don't have to wait for another book to be published. You don't have to wait to demonstrate and express your divinity for any reason. You don't have to wait for inspiration. You don't have to wait for the lesson that says, "Wow, this is the inspiration I need to go out and live my life this day." When I came into this philosophy, you went to church on Sunday because that was the day you could get this message. It wasn't available everywhere all the time. And if you were learning this message and these principles, it helps to have others around. It helps to have friends to learn with and people to bounce ideas off of and somebody to say, "Did I get that right? Did I hear this guy right? Did he really just say that?" Grab your seatbelts. Church is no longer necessary. I don't believe it is necessary for us to get together on Sunday mornings to understand this, to get this philosophy and this message. And I have a few colleagues that might just hear this message this week and come running at me. And that doesn't mean that church has to go away. It doesn't mean that a Sunday gathering has to go away. It doesn't mean that what we're doing is irrelevant. It means what we're doing has to change. What we're doing has to take the next step on the journey. We live here in Colorado, and there's so many hiking opportunities and so many opportunities to get out into nature and wilderness and over the years, one of the things I've always loved is a stepping stone bridge across a river or a creek or a marshy area. There's nothing unnatural about it. Maybe somebody had a pry bar to move that rock into the right place, but ultimately we can traverse the challenges along our path by staying grounded on the stepping stones. And maybe you're like me and you've gone into the mountains and into the wilderness and there was a rainstorm and the river was a little higher than normal and the water's pushing up and it's almost kind of and those stepping stones aren't always dry, right? Sometimes they can be a little slick and in our mind, in our humanness, we wonder, ooh, can I make that leap? Can I step across that space and make that next step? What happens if you don't? Stand there, wait till the water goes down, give it a few hours, hopefully the sun comes out, dries off the rock. You turn around, you stay put, or you take the risk, you take the leap, and you move forward. Change is the opportunity to move forward. And I believe that there is no greater death than to stand looking at our truth and not be willing to step forward into it. That's what my writing is about for me, taking that next step forward. For each of you, for each of us, we get to answer these same questions. And whether the wisdom comes well, no matter when you decide to tap into the wisdom, come to Monday Morning Visioning with New Thought Media Network, 7 a.m. Mountain Time on our YouTube channel. I guarantee you'll have a wisdom type insight. 45-minute meditative inquiries, visioning experience. Catch one of the prayers that we put out, even after the fact. You don't have to be there live. Jump on your YouTube channel and check out some of the meditations I've been dropping on Wednesday mornings. You have access to absolute infinity. You have access to the emergent intelligence in every moment. And it just is a matter of what you like, what resonates for you. You don't have to wait till Sunday to be inspired. You don't have to wait until Monday morning to live this message. And I believe the greatest opportunity before us as human beings, as humans, is to live our divinity, is to let that light body shine, not to play small, not to hide or dim our light so that others feel bigger or don't feel smaller or whatever excuses we want to be. I was recently, about a year ago now, maybe or so, introduced to a theory, a thing, a personality concept, a modality of how to run our lives and look at our lives and organize our lives. And I was introduced to it. I kind of liked it. It was all right. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. But it didn't seem really applicable for me personally. Like, this isn't going to help me right now, but it's good to know. And A handful of months ago, Lara was introduced to this same thing. It's called positive intelligence. And you can look that up online and maybe I'll start writing about it in the Substack, who knows. But in this model, and through Laura's introduction to it, I was kind of invited to come back to it and look at it a little bit more in support of her and her experience of it. And in this model, what it helps us to do is it very briefly, it helps us to identify where we're judging in our lives. Judging ourselves or judging others, judging the experience, judging the outcome, whatever it might be. It also provides us with some opportunities to practice a body movement, a somatic integration on how to identify and let go of that judging aspect and step into the sage role. And the sage role is really, from my perspective, is a description of the God self, that Christ self within, that universal truth that you already know is who you are. And so, what this book and this work promises is that you can change everything in your life real quick in a blink of an eye in a few seconds by simply recognizing what you're judging, doing an integration or an activation to let go of that judgment and embrace a different view. What's that different view? You are already whole, complete, and perfect just as you are. You are speaking the language of love, and you are available for love, and you are loved beyond measure. Every one of us. And anything that may float through our minds or through our that is contradictory to that is nothing but a human limitation. And here's what we know, folks. We are bigger than the human, right? We are the divine light beings. We can transcend this human experience. There's a lot of tools and techniques in the human world, in our humanness. And I want to invite you into a realm where more and more and more you remember that that is not who you are, that you are a being of light and you have chosen to shine that light as a human experience. Heck, the next time you might choose to be an alien. I don't know, but I'm not there yet. and and really I don't want any of us to lose touch with the fact that as best as I know right now, there's no greater playground than the human body, than this thing we call life in the human realm. This is I wouldn't want to do this as a as a spider or as a lizard or even as a dolphin. And the dolphins seem like they might actually have it going on. I don't know. Maybe I need to take that back and explore that one. But I like being human. I like having this human experience. And what I have learned and what I have come to live is that as we embrace this truth, as we profess this truth, as we deny any human limitation, as we no longer allow ourselves to buy into those human limiting beliefs, life becomes more fun. Life becomes more fun. Life becomes enlightened. We are light bringings beings bringing the divine into the human realm, not the other way around. Remember when I first got into this movement, people would say, don't tell God how big your problems are, tell your problems how big your God is. Don't tell God what your human limitations are. Don't tell God that you don't have enough money. Don't tell God that you need a better lover. Don't tell God that the car needs brakes. Don't tell God that Papa needs a new pair of shoes. tell your human limitation, that belief, tell your humanness how big your God is. And there's your challenge for the week, folks. Throughout this week, I encourage you to tell life how big your God is. And if that means you need to sit in some meditation and some inquiry and some contemplation to really figure out just how big your God is, well, let's do that. Every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mornings at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Okay, yes, it's early, but it is what it is. But every morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Time, New Thought Media Network provides an opportunity for you to be in a spiritual practice of the various sort to figure out how big your God really is. And if your God isn't big enough to answer the problems of your humanness, then we're going to get a bigger God. That's all there is to it. We got to get a bigger God. In almost 60 years, my humanness has pretty much never figured out how to solve any of my human problems. But the divine has never failed me. So join me. And if 7 a.m. is too early, that's okay. You don't have to do it live. And by the way, you can find these on our YouTube channel. So you just go to YouTube at a couple minutes before 7 and go to the New Thought Media Network channel, and there'll be a little thing that says going live soon, and you click on that, and it'll still sit there and pop up. It'll say going live soon, and when we go live, it goes live. So if you need to, do a dish or hit the bathroom or something, don't worry, you won't miss it. It'll go live and you'll hear it and go, oh, there it is. Here he is. Okay, I hear it. Let's go. Grab your journal, come join me. And in 30 to 45 minutes, each of those 3 mornings, I guarantee you will have a bigger vision of your God. You will have a bigger definition of your God, of who you have come here to be. When we approach the divine with a committed and honest spiritual practice, you cannot be denied. You're a being of light. You're opening that direct portal, that direct channel, that direct conduit to the divine truth. And that's what we do in prayer. That's what we're going to do right now. I know you're all in a safe enough space to close your eyes, so I just invite you to please do so. And in the stillness, in the space between the inhale and the exhale, in the space between the exhale and the inhale, it is there that I come to know God. It is here in this moment that I bring my humanness to the very precipice of the divine wisdom, the very precipice, the very edge of divine knowing. I bring myself to that reservoir of everything, that place where God exists and is known by many names, that place, that energetic vibration of consciousness that is the absolute, that is the everything, where there is nothing broken and nothing absent, where there is nothing wrong, even if it appears there is something wrong, where there is the everything, the all of all, the essence, where there is God, oneness. It is on this very edge between the divine and the human that I bring my humanness to come be reminded, to come remember the divine that is inherent within me, that one source, that one supply, that one everything, the love, the light, the beauty, the truth, the health, the wealth, the well-being, the abundance. It is all right there, just one step more, and it is there, just one breath more, and we let go of the human and we step into the divine. We we step into that divine recognition that everyone here is a perfect emanation of God's life, that everyone here is whole and complete, that no one is broken, that no one is missing, that nothing is wrong, there is no illness, there is no time, there is no humanness, there is the divine. It is here in this moment that I invite each one to come to a sense, a deep knowing that deeply we are one. And so you are my brother and my sister. You are my lover and my keeper. You are my family. You are my friend. You are the all of all. You are the oneness bringing itself. You are the conduit through which the divine gets to bring itself back into the human realm. See, the divine cannot be the divine without an avenue, a vessel through which it travels, through which it operates, through which it makes itself known. We are that avenue. We are that conduit. We are that channel of divine emanation, of divine wisdom flowing through into the human psyche, into the human realm. And we don't do that just on Sundays or on Wednesday nights. This isn't something we do just for 5 minutes in the morning and maybe 3 minutes at night. It's not just about, oh, my gratitude journal at the end of the day. Of my journal, it says I'm amazing in the morning. All those things are important. All those things are necessary, but they're only as necessary as we need them to bring us to this precipice, bring us to this very edge, this space, this liminal space in between. Where I can allow the divine to reveal itself, where I can allow the divine to remind me of my greatness. I claim for each one here a deep sense of your greatness. Tap into that right now. Let the divine reveal through you that which you are here to accomplish, that which you are here to be love and to be loved, to be love and to be compassion and to be compassionate, to be loved and to be open, to be receiving, to be giving, to be everything, to be the divine in form. And then let that still small voice from within become a mighty roar. Let that still small voice become the director of your passions, of your travels, of your journey of enlightenment. For we have come here today to be reminded that we are already enlightened, that there is nothing that can truly dim that light other than ourselves, other than our own limiting beliefs, other than our own limiting constructs. There is truly nothing on this planet, nothing in this thing called life that can dim the light we are. So it is only in my choice. It is my choice to say, let that light shine. Let that light shine brighter than ever before. Let that light shine into the crevices of who I thought I were. And let that light burn away any false beliefs. Let that light burn away any sense of limitation or lack or not enoughness. Let that light of the divine be the guide, be the beacon, be the tractor beam that pulls us into our infinity, into our greatness. And we bring that to the human realm. We tell our body temple how big our God is. We tell our neighbors how big our God is. We tell our legislators how big our God is. We tell the universe, we tell our churches, we tell everyone, we scream it from the rooftops. My God is an awesome God. My God is an awesome God. And so it is. And so it is. That
Yes.
thank you for being with us, folks. If this is your first time with us and you're watching this on a recording somewhere, please head over to our website, cslbouldervalley.org, and click on the donate button. For those that are in the room, I know you already have, and I know you do regularly, so I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of the financial good that keeps this family moving, that keeps this organization going, that keeps this community getting together. It's important work that we're doing to share this. So I thank you for all that you do to make Boulder, CSL Boulder Valley a force for good, a force for light in this world. Until next time, I wish you peace and richest blessings.